Previously, I made a video about the UFC potentially doing an event in Africa, and I said it makes sense because of the fact that 3 of their 8 UFC champions are actually African. I'm talking about the male champions, by the way. Obviously, I'm talking about Israel Adesanya, who's from Nigeria, Kamaru Usman, who's from Nigerian descent, and Francis Ngannou, who's from, I think he's from Cambodia. I may be wrong. Not Cambodia, sorry. Cameroon, sorry, my bad. Cameroon, yeah. So I thought in this video I would make a video just describing like their differences in terms of their style, because I think looking at them 3, stylistically they're very different fighters. If you look at them, the way they carry themselves, their temperament, just everything about them is a little bit different. So yeah, I thought I'd describe them from a stylistic point of view, the way they differ from each other. Obviously their similarities is that they come from African countries, but I think it shows because like with most countries, for example with Russians are known to be great wrestlers. With Americans does have a great wrestling tradition, but they do tend to focus a lot on striking as well. But with Africa, although Africa has 3 champions, all 3 champions that they have different types of styles. So I think it's an interesting video just to see how each of their style compares. So the first person I'm going to start with is obviously Israel Adesanya. Now, Israel Adesanya, obviously he has a boxing Muay Thai background. I think his record is 85-5, which is a very impressive record as a kickboxer. So he's a very strike heavy type fighter. He's a fighter that depends on striking a lot. But if you look at him generally, when he went into the world of MMA, mixed martial arts, he had to refine his style to some extent, because for those that don't know, if when you get into a sport which is as diverse as mixed martial arts, you have to prepare for every eventuality. So you have to prepare your style to deal with, for example, leg kicks and not just leg kicks, but takedown and all of that. Now, as we know, Israel Adesanya doesn't have a base as a wrestler. He's got a base as more of a striker than a wrestler. So if that's the case, he's had to develop a base as not a base, but he had to develop some takedown defense to deal with that. And obviously, apart from his last fight against Jan Blachowicz, it's done him really well. It's served him really well because he's been in there with really good fighters like Robert Whittaker. He's been in there with Yoel Romero. He's been in there with I think it's Paulo Costa as well, and he's managed to destroy all of them with his striking. But whenever even Kelvin Gastelum, he almost got him down on the ground. He's always found a way to use his takedown defense to actually get him out of that pickle. So yeah, in my opinion, both of them are very he's an interesting fighter in the sense that his base is not wrestling. His base is just purely kickboxing, and yet he's been able to transition over to MMA by developing takedown defense. And I think that's what's made him such a formidable fighter, is the fact that he's learnt this. So another thing that's actually happened is the fact that now we come on to Kamaru Usman. Now Kamaru Usman is almost like the complete opposite of Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya's base is purely kickboxing. Like that's his actual base. That's how he's made his bread and butter. That's the skill that he had before he even went into mixed martial arts, into the UFC. He had a kickboxing base. But if you look at Kamaru Usman's base is actually wrestling. This was a guy that was a pure wrestler in his younger days, when he used to actually, I think he was like a collegiate American wrestler. Yeah, he's developed his striking game, and that's how he's actually compensated and started to become a great fighter, by developing his striking game a lot. For example, it's quite notable when he went in there against Colby Covington. A lot of people expected that to be a bit of a dead fight. The reason is because both of them are wrestlers. Yet when they went in there with each other, instead of wrestling, they both just decided to go into a striking war. And it was an exciting fight for both of them. Both of them performed in terms of striking, just pure striking. They just striked with each other. Not one of them went for a takedown. which was quite unexpected to say the least, and that's why it started becoming a very entertaining fight. So Kamaru Usman's developed his striking game. One punch that he's really developed is his overhand right hand. His overhand right hand is a very lethal, and we saw what he done to Masvidal with it. So that's how he's managed to transition over into MMA. He's developed that part of his game, his right hand, which is very effective, I should say. Because his striking game is starting to become formidable, and he's starting to become not just dominant when it comes to wrestling. I think he knows in his own heart that for him to endear himself to the fans, he needs to have a more strike-heavy approach, because not a lot of them appreciate wrestling as much as they do striking. It's not as entertaining to them. So he's actually developed his style in a sense where he's had to develop that to be more appreciated by the casuals in MMA. And finally, we come on to Kamaru Usman. Now, Kamaru Usman is unlike both of them. Both of them have their bases within, for example, Israel Adesanya has a base in Muay Thai, and Kamaru Usman has a base in wrestling. Kamaru Usman came to combat sports quite late because of the lack of facilities in Cameroon. So he's just come from almost like a boxing background. Originally he wanted to become a boxer, and then he chanced upon MMA at the age of 26. In 4 to 5 years he's developed his right hand, and he's become a formidable puncher. Obviously he's in the heavyweight division, so a heavy punch means more than being very technically gifted, and that's what's made Francis Ngannou so feared. He's developed his right hand, and he's been knocking people out left, right and centre. But in his last fight, especially against Stipe in the rematch, he's shown that he's developed his wrestling, and he said in the last 3 years he's been working on his wrestling. And out of nowhere, when I think Stipe tried going for a takedown, he actually negated that. He negated that with takedown defense, went behind him and grabbed his back. And when we saw that, everybody was just like absolutely frightened. They were like, wow, now this guy's got takedown defense on top of his formidable power. He's truly become a mixed martial artist. So all three of these fighters are incredibly formidable in their own way. And all of them have become absolute mixed martial artists because of the fact that, and obviously champions as well, because of the fact that they've filled the gap that they had in their styles by learning other things that they needed for the style. For Kamaru Usman, he learned how to strike. For Israel Adesanya, he learned takedown defense. He learned how to deal with a wrestler trying to take him down. He learned great footwork fundamentals, so he's able to get himself in a position where he never gets really hit much, or he never gets put in a position where his back is against the cage and someone's able to take him down. And then on top of that, you got Francis Ngannou, who literally just was a puncher. He's a lethal puncher. He was in the heavyweight division. He was knocking everyone out. But now he's developed his wrestling game and his takedown defense as well, similar to Israel Adesanya, and now he's become absolutely formidable as well. So yeah, stylistically, you can see, even though stylistically they're different types of fighters, Israel Adesanya is like a sharpshooting striker. Kamaru Usman, his base is wrestling and he's learning striking. Francis Ngannou is a power puncher who tries to knock you the F out. They are similar in the sense that they're both they all had to go on a learning curve to actually become pure mixed martial artists and become champions. So yeah, that's just my opinion on all three of these fighters in terms of their styles, their temperament, the way they carry themselves. And tell me what you think below. Who do you think has come along the furthest out of all three of them? In my opinion, I think it's Francis Ngannou. In terms of the progression that he's made, it's crazy to think 5 years ago this guy didn't even know what mixed martial arts MMA was, and now all he knew was boxing, and now he's a champion, and he's one of the biggest names within MMA. It's incredible if you actually think about it. Also, how great he's come along with his takedown defense. He's just become an absolutely formidable animal in terms of his talent as well. So yeah, that's just my opinion on this. Tell me your opinion, and like and subscribe to the channel. I've got a lot more content coming your way. Peace out.